I like this section of our course. This one is called From No Money to No Money. We're going to talk about going from $0 in resources to getting that first investment and everything in between. There is a big difference between, hey, can you give me some money? And, hey, I have an opportunity for you that can make you money. Do you want a part of it? I call it being hungry, not thirsty. There's a difference between coming across as confident, coming across as someone who knows what they're doing, wants to add the different stakeholders to the puzzle, and someone who is desperate, someone who simply is flailing and looking for capital anywhere they can find it, and doesn't really know what they're going to do with that money once they get it. There are some nearly fatal mistakes that new founders may make from time to time. Now, remember, if you make some of these mistakes, you can always pick yourself back up, but try to avoid them. One is coming into an investor meeting and not knowing your stuff. We talked about research and development. We talked about experiencing things. We talked about being the best in your lane that there is. When you come to an investor, you better know your stuff because they see so much. They get offered all the time different opportunities. They get asked different ways. So if you come in and you have great vision, you have excitement and passion, but you don't know your numbers, you don't know what it takes to get from A to B and A to Z, you don't know what your competition is doing right next to you, it's going to come across like you were really not ready for that meeting and you're wasting that person's time. And it's, like I said before, this belongs to you and you should be equal in this meeting. But it's about respecting the person on the other side too. So respect their time. Coming in and saying, this is what I'm presenting to you, and this may or may not be for you, but I believe we'll work well together, is much better, much stronger positioning than coming in all bravado, all ready, all excitement, saying how great you are, and then failing on the first question when they ask you about your total addressable market. You want to be ready to talk the talk. Another part of this is knowing the landscape and how things flow. You don't necessarily have to go looking for outside capital. I want to make that very clear. A lot of people are successful by bootstrapping, by doing it on their own and using the revenue from their company to continue moving forward. But if you decide you want to bring in outside investors, knowing what their agenda is and what their setup is can be essentially important. I'll give you an example. A fund manager. So you might have heard of a venture fund or an investment fund, and you want to get $500,000 from them. You want to get $250,000, $1 million from them. And you understand that this is the work that they do. So you've got all your stuff together, your research, development. You've got all of the things that you need. You have your pitch deck. You have everything ready for that meeting. But if you haven't researched that fund to know that they themselves went out and raised money to have the $300 million fund, and that their LPs or limited partners who have invested in those funds, they have expectations of within 10 years, I want you to 3x this fund, then you don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. And in fact, knowing more information like that puts you even at an advantage to other entrepreneurs. Because most people are walking in thinking about, what can I get from this situation? How is this going to affect me if I'm successful in this meeting or in this conversation, in this relationship? But the person on the other side of that table, like any negotiation, has a full story, a full agenda. Remember that word, they have an agenda. Doesn't necessarily mean bad, but it's important to know what it is. They may be thinking, I gotta find a great company in this certain industry, or my job is on the line, or my ability to raise the next fund is on the line. Or they may say, I've actually done really well the past 3 years. I could sit back and do whatever I want, and I could have no more wins and be just fine. And you want to measure your time. How much time are you putting towards someone who really is hungry, who's out there, who is searching for companies, and as compared to someone who puts their feet on the desk in Silicon Valley and really doesn't care about you. So doing the research about not only how venture capital works, but how this particular investor thinks is going to save you a lot of time and perhaps get you that first yes. Another prime example of being prepared and really aligning myself with someone who respects what I do and vice versa is Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban invested $6 million into what is a $20 million fund, essentially. And that's, he's a billionaire, and it's hard to get on his radar when it comes to investing in funds. He rarely invests in other people's funds. But a few things came together to make that possible. One of them, I truly believe, is my preparation. I was ready for that moment, for that opportunity when he came by and said, I want to partner with you. If I wasn't ready, research, development, experience, already being what I feel is a good leader, having the team in place, having that ride or die team, I don't think we would have been able to take on that $6 million and deploy it the way we have been. And again, remember, Backstage Capital, even though it's a venture fund, is my startup. So I think of it in that way. When I was having these early conversations with Mark Cuban, he picked up on early on the respect that I have for what he's doing, and also the research that I did on why he does what he does and what motivates him. That's what I mean by agenda, really, what is motivating someone to do the things that they do. So I picked up on things like he's trying to leave a legacy. I picked up on age. I picked up on him being very loyal to certain regions in the country and certain types of founders. And at the end of the day, I asked him, I said, why did you invest in Backstage? Why did you invest in me? And he, without question, without pause, he said, you get into rooms that I'll never be able to get into. Think about how powerful that is. This is a man who's worth billions of dollars. And he's rich and he's powerful and he can go anywhere he wants. But even he knows what leverage is and what access is and what proximity is. So if I didn't know this about him, I may have played this a different way. I may have become off as what? Thirsty, not hungry. He respected the way that I operated and the way that I treated people and the unique perspective that I have. And of course, the access that I have that he does not have. As an investor, especially an investor who is trailblazing and breaking new ground, I'm dealing with an enormous amount of inbound. So thousands of people come to me every year and ask for investment. Also thinking about the infrastructure of my own company and building that out. So there's very little time for error here. What is essential for your company and for you is to break through that. Have something that you can offer me and Backstage Capital or the investor that you're in front of that is more valuable than the capital that they're handing over to you in exchange.